and welcome to Real Talks. I'm Sue Quackenbush, Chief People Officer at Dynatrace, and your podcast host. I'm inviting Dynatracers from around the globe to have real conversations about their experiences shaping our vibrant global culture. After having a fantastic conversation with Rafi Katanasho, VP of Solution Engineering at Dynatrace, we released an episode focused on leadership. However, Rafi and I also share a deep interest and experience in mentorship, and a significant part of our discussion naturally leaned towards this topic, which inspired me to share this part of our conversation as a special bonus episode dedicated entirely to mentorship. Just listen to his passion.
Yeah, look, I am a big passionate advocate of mentorship and coaching, and I personally myself have had the privilege of having had that experience with my career. And now that I'm reflecting back on these moments, it's like I realize how wise the advice that I was given, when I was navigating difficult decisions, and just the wisdom that, saved me a lot of time and effort and helped accelerate the career path and helped accelerate, obviously, the success of the business. Well, let me give you one example about the first time, basically, I realized that I really had a mentor. It was a time when our startup company here in Australia was being acquired. And so I had a lot of question marks. Should I stay? Should I leave? Would I maximize my time and effort? And I needed real advice, right? Beyond that, you should stay, because he was one of the co-founders of the company. And I was one of the early people on that company. So, that was the moment when I felt he was really trying to give me real advice. This is my initial early mentor, giving me advice that had me with the best interest, right? Rather than, what he's trying to maximize the value from the acquisition or something along that nature. So, I felt he was listening to what I had to say, my real concerns. And I remember we were just having it over a beer. We went to the pub, close, next door, which is what we usually do on a Friday evening. But that was after we've announced the acquisition. Everybody was, not sure about, how should they take it? Is it good or is it bad? And then we just had a really heart-to-heart conversation about this whole thing. And throughout the next maybe a year to 2 years, he helped me really find myself in and navigate through a much bigger company and find the right role for me and coach me into sort of, taking that bigger role inside the company. So that was when I realized about, he was more concerned about me as a human. And then, later on, obviously he left from that company, and a sort of a new leader came through. And that also, relationship got built based on trust and based on me seeing a lot of wisdom in that person. And over a period of time, he saw obviously something in me. And so we built that relationship, and we had it going for about 14 years where we both were extremely successful and hit nearly 14 out of the 15 years, we hit like record numbers in the region. So that's, how it developed.
One thing that constantly runs through my mind is relationship and the ability to really connect with an individual in a coaching or mentoring scenario, but having that fundamental relationship built on trust and just that connection. How do you go about building that? Because I think that's so key to have good coaching and good mentoring sessions.
Yeah, I think you've hit it on the nail on the head there. It's about connecting with people. It's about listening to the teams, listening to their concerns, to their successes, to their challenges. And it's not always about, giving them directions of what to do, but often it actually involves a lot more listening and obviously some, wise advice in terms of, the challenging that they're dealing. And I think dealing with that, you really need to connect at a human to human level. I mean, that is an essential thing. And they need to know that you've got their interests at heart. You want to maximize their potential as individuals. And I think to fulfill the vision of the company, people obviously talk about customer experience and how important that is. But to me, that customer experience is a reflection of the employee experience. It's a reflection of how well we're treating our teams, and then they're obviously reflecting, the experience that they're having with you back to their to their customers and to their partners. And so it is really critical to connect at a human level and to ensure that regardless of whether it's like a formal mentorship kind of program or just the, general day-to-day conversations that you're having with your team or adjacent teams, it's about making sure that we're connecting and listening as a human level.
You touch on listening. I think sometimes leaders feel that they have to have all the answers, that they have to be the director in a way. And sometimes it's just sitting back. And the hardest thing to do as a leader is to listen and to ask those questions, to seek to understand, because the answers are there. And you're right, we need to connect on a human level. And there's been recent articles about leadership with kindness, right? And just being able to say, hey, wait a minute, I understand we have all these pressures and deliverables, but let's connect at the level of, I know you go home at night and you have life outside of work. And so being able to really care and want to understand what's going on in an individual's life.
Yeah, and I think, you're right that, there's a big blurring between work and the personal lives, and it's very blurred, specifically in our kind of field that we're dealing with. And I think it's everywhere. So that blurring means that you need to have a holistic understanding of the human and their needs, right? And to be able to to connect with them. And back to your point about listening, so, and not always of course, we don't always have the right answers. But it's not about just the right answers. My experience is more about maybe asking the right question of the team. And they often have the answer. So it's not about giving them the answer, but it's about helping them realize what that real answer is. And it's often through a question and not through giving them an actual answer.
Yep. So, Rafi, one of the things we're talking about today is leadership and mentorship. And, my philosophy is that anyone can be a mentor at any time, because a lot of times it's about experience, and can you give someone an insight into your experience if they're seeking that information. And so, can you speak to me about how should someone view mentorship as a mentor, and getting involved? Because everyone likes mentorship, but sometimes people are afraid or hesitant to become mentors. So what do you think about that?
As somebody who raised 3 daughters, I remember the line that I used to tell them all the time, growing up. I say, sharing is caring, sharing is caring. And how true is that sort of line, sharing is caring? The people who are giving the mentorship get a lot of rewards from it. Most people think, I'm going to dedicate my time. I'm not sure what I'm going to get in return for it. And I'm not sure if I'm actually ready for it. If you have experience and passion for people, and you would love to share your experiences and carry it on for the good of the individuals, the company, and broader society, then I think it is wise for you to consider giving mentorship, because you will get you'll get a lot from it yourself, and not just the actual people that you're actually mentoring.
No, that's great. And mentors can come from all levels, areas of the organization. You don't have to be a leader to be a mentor. If someone is coming to you to ask for your experience, you are mentoring them.
At Esperanto, when I was being mentored, I don't remember it being called mentorship. He never there was no moment where he said, "Oh, now this is I'm asked him to be my mentor." Or he was my mentor. It just happened, and then we built that trust. And over a period of time, I'd go to him for questions, and over time he'll observe me and he'll come to me for advice and things along that nature. And so you build that trust relationship basically between them. And of course that happens naturally, but if you're wanting to get that closeness and you haven't had it, I would recommend that you seek it. You look around you and you would seek it from others, because there's so much that you can benefit from, and you can accelerate your career as from an employee perspective, but also from a mentor perspective. You can actually benefit a lot and share that wisdom beyond that just individual. And one other piece of advice that I think I personally, benefited from a lot is that there's a lot of the individuals within the company, and there's a lot of experience around you, regardless whether you're with Dynatrace or with other companies. There's a lot of experience around you. Do not be afraid or shy to ask and go look for these people that have, that wisdom, and ask them for mentorship and leadership. one thing I learned very early on, Sue, is 90% of the things you don't ask for, you don't get, right? So be brave and ask others. I mean, what's the worst thing they can say? I don't have time or whatever it is. But most likely, most often, you'll find that most people will be obliging and more than happy to actually help you.
I agree 100%. And, people, it's an honor to be asked to share your experience or your thoughts. So I totally second and support your recommendation that individuals should be bold and they should ask. And the other thing that happens is it's an honor to the recipient, but B, it also starts a relationship. It starts a connection that wouldn't have existed. And so, it's all these little steps of leaning in, asking the questions, being bold, that builds those connections and sense of belonging within an organization, within a team. And, as a leader, encouraging that, right? That's the other thing. Encourage that is so important. And, one aspect of being a mentor, you also get to hear from that individual's lens on how they're perceiving what's going on in the organization or in the industry. And so as a mentor, I agree, you're learning and I think it makes you a better leader because you have you're seeing different aspects and the different lenses of how people are reacting to a message or an action, just to be able to gauge that better.
Yeah, you stay connected and you stay grounded, I think, and that's really, really important part of continuing to stay relevant and not to stay too distant from the front line, from the front teams who are dealing with the customers, with the partners, with the challenges. So I think it makes you overall a better leader, a bit more in tune leader.
Yeah, I agree. And, we've talked a lot about, leadership and mentorship and coaching and, but the themes that I'm hearing, it's all about building a connection, building a relationship, listening, seeking to understand, being bold in reaching out for nuggets of information and experience and learning. And it sounds like everyone benefits from these type of connections and relationships and conversations. And that's what leadership's about.
Yeah, I think you've summed it up really well, Sue. It's about leaning in. It's about connecting your passions. And we have a lot of passions outside work. And I was sharing a bit earlier is I'm passionate about philosophy and sport and technology and people. So, and I find that I'm at my best when I connect all of these things together towards driving the vision, mission, and purpose of the company and helping the people come along. And I also, in part of mentoring others, I want them to actually connect their passions because that reflects in front of customers when they have, when they're speaking from the passions other than just, the work that they're actually doing, connecting them all in and bringing it. So you have to lean in and don't think that you have to restrict your professions with outside passions that you have. If you do it in the right way, obviously, you can bring the best of your passions and your business and the company vision, mission, and purpose together while growing the teams.
What a conversation with Rafi, and thank you for joining me today. Be sure to check out episode number 7 with Rafi on Leadership Essentials. And don't forget to follow the podcast on your favorite streaming platform so every new episode is delivered directly to your podcast feed.